Echo and the Breach. Reflection, Reverberation 3 by August Drift. They were supposed to protect him. The grown-ups, the gatekeepers, the ones with keys, titles, and quiet promises. But when they failed, it wasn't just safety that was stolen from Echo. It was his sense of competency. If they couldn't stop the danger, how could he ever learn to trust himself too? It was his safety, traded away for the illusion that the walls would hold. It was his belonging, that fractured, because once you've seen how easily the night lets something in, you start believing you don't belong anywhere. It cost him relationships too, because you can't build connection while watching every door. It chipped at his sense of self, reduced him from child to sentinel, from dreamer to guard. I remember when he first told me this story. He didn't tell it like a confession. He told it like he was still in it. There was this carefulness to him. Too careful. Borderline obsessive. The way he sat, the angle of his body, always just slightly off-center, never square, never casual. Every time the door opened behind us, his eyes flicked up like clockwork. Even when he was mid-sentence. That's when I noticed. He doesn't sit at the same table out of routine. He sits where the wall is at his back and he can see both exits. He doesn't do routine. He does survival. And when he gets to the hard parts, the parts where memory presses too close, I see it in his hands. One finger at a time, right hand to thumb. Index. Middle. Ring. Pinky. Then reverse. Pinky. Ring. Middle. Index. Like a code. Like a ritual. I've heard him stutter too, words catching like his mouth is trying to move faster than it's allowed. Sometimes he starts again. Sometimes he just lets the silence take over. So when he talks about making a choice, it wasn't the kind you circle on a form. It was the kind you make when the world gives you nothing but vigilance. He trained himself in stillness. No smiles, no laughs, no raised eyebrows, no eye contact, no reactions. Just being. But there's a cost to living without expression. When you can't react, you stay unreadable. When you stay unreadable, you stay faceless. When you're faceless, it's hard to make a connection. When you can't connect, you start to feel defective. And when you feel defective, you definitely can't let anyone see that. So you wear the mask. And when you wear the mask, you can't react. So it loops. He loops. And somewhere inside that spiral of silence, Echo survives. Not because it's what he wants, but because
it's what is left. The funny thing about night terrors is you never really get used to them. You just get used to being afraid. When they first started, I got the full package. Paralysis, couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't hear myself scream. And I was screaming. I mean, my lungs were working, but nothing came out. Not that I could tell. You push harder thinking maybe you'll break through, but you don't. You just get stuck deeper. And then someone else wakes you up. Because you woke them up. Because even if your voice doesn't work, your body does. I used to think that was the worst part. It's not. As time went on, the paralysis started to fade, but what came next? That was worse. Sleepwalking. Running. fighting, living out the nightmares I used to be locked inside of. I've woken up halfway out a second-story window. I've nearly split my skull open on a front door, charging it like a goddamn battering ram, full speed, head first. One time my brother came over. I was napping on the couch, middle of the day. He woke me up. Only I wasn't me when he did. And before I even knew it, I had him pinned, knees on his shoulders, fists cocked back, ready to throw. He didn't say a word. He just looked at me, and I stopped. You don't go back to sleep after something like that. 3 a.m., naked, standing in the kitchen, butcher knife in hand, screaming at the top of my lungs, "Get the fuck out of my house." No one was there, just me and my roommate, terrified in the hallway. Yeah, hard to explain that one. I've even recorded myself during them, caught audio, listened back. Slowly, when my body lets go that much, my jaw stops working right. The way I talk gets all lazy, like I'm trying to impersonate a Boston cab driver. Thick accent and everything. It's the best I've ever sounded. And I can't even fake it when I'm awake. Night terrors aren't dreams. They're rehearsals for a danger your body still believes is coming, even when your mind's forgotten how it started. People say you're supposed to love your mother. Doesn't matter what she did. Doesn't matter who she was. Just because she's your mom. Fuck that. Sometimes a cunt is just a cunt. We lived halfway up a hill, middle of nowhere, trees for neighbors. Closest house was a quarter-mile off, then another one after that. If you screamed, no one would hear you. Maybe that's why she picked it. She had this routine. I didn't know it at first. I was a heavy sleeper. My brother wasn't. 3 years younger than me, a wiry little thing with too much honesty. He told me one day, when we go to sleep, Mum goes down to the bar. I laughed, said he was full of shit. He wasn't. There was a bar on the other side of the hill, little dive place, mostly locals. She'd leave us, me and my brother, alone in that house. A house with one entrance, from the basement. He was 8, maybe 9. I was 11. Tall for my age, but still a kid. And we were just left there, night after night, because she needed a drink, or a man, or both. You want to know when I got confirmation? Let's call it a little after 2 a.m. I was passed out in bed, Little League bat and glove leaned up next to the wall. I hated Little League, but I kept the bat close. That part turned out useful. I felt her hand on my shoulder, shaking me. She said my name. No, not gonna use it. Echo. That's who I am now. Echo, there's someone in the basement. Just like that. No panic, no plan, just told me there was someone down there. She told me I was the man of the house, that it was my job to deal with it. So I did, because no one else was going to. She stayed at the top of the stairs. I saw them. Boots, jeans. The bottom half of a man standing motionless in the shadows below. I crouched down, tried to see more. Didn't help much, but I knew what I needed to know. He wasn't supposed to be there. I crept halfway down the stairs, bat raised in both hands. I shouted, "Why are you in my house?" He mumbled something, slurred, nonsense. I could smell him from up the stairs. Beer, liquor, sweat, and vomit oozing from every pore. I moved down a few more steps. He came into view. 5'7" maybe. Thick, balding, stringy blonde hair hanging to his shoulders like a shitty rag doll that got left in the rain. His skin looked soft, the kind that bruises when you breathe on it. He belched again, didn't say anything that made sense, just stood there, existing. I said it again, louder. "Who the fuck are you and why are you in my house?" I was scared, but I couldn't let it show. My hands usually shake, always have. But right then, nothing, just still. Like I'd slipped into some quiet place behind the fear. He took a step toward me. I took two toward him. "Get the fuck out of this house before I put your brain on the fucking floor." No stutter, no hesitation, just clarity. He paused. I gave him a warning swing, just across the air, a clean arc of metal and intent. Didn't hit him, didn't have to. He stumbled, fumbled for the basement door, opened it, tried to leave. There was a lip at the bottom. You had to step up to get out. He missed it, went down hard. That was my chance. I ran down, slammed the door shut, locked the deadbolt, and just stood there, breathing. I turned, looked up the stairs. She was still there, still at the top, hadn't moved. I threw the bat across the room, didn't say a word. Didn't need to. Then I went back to bed. And that was it. That's the night my brain decided the world wasn't safe. That sleep was an invitation to be breached. From then on, it's always the same. Someone's in the house. They're not supposed to be. They don't want to leave. I've never slept right since. It's always the same. Not always the same face, not always the same build. Sometimes a man, sometimes a shadow, sometimes I can't even see them. But it's always the same. Someone's in the house. They're not supposed to be. They don't want to leave. That part never changes. It's like my brain picked that moment, locked it in amber, and said, "This is the shape of your fear now." I've tried to logic my way out of it, tried medication, tried routines, tried sleeping with the TV on, off, in another room, on the floor, with the lights, without. Doesn't matter, they always find a way in. The worst part isn't the dreams, it's what they make real. You wake up and you check the locks again and again and again. You look out windows you already covered with blackout film. You stare into corners you already cleared. You sleep next to weapons, just in case. You tell yourself it's irrational, but it doesn't feel irrational when your whole body believes someone is watching you from the hallway. It doesn't feel irrational, when you scream yourself awake and your throat is raw, and you swear you saw someone just a second ago. This isn't some ghost story. There's no cursed object, no twist ending, just a kid who got told he was the man of the house before his voice had even cracked. And now, I don't sleep. Not really. I visit sleep. I pass through it. I touch it like it might bite, and sometimes it does. I've tried to understand why she did it. Why she let me go down there. She was big, loud, could handle herself, but she didn't. So here's my theory. She was the kind of woman who liked attention until it turned into consequences. Maybe that man was supposed to be there. Maybe he misunderstood. But she knew what was downstairs, and she woke me up. She didn't call the cops. She didn't handle it. She made it my problem. And that's not parenting. That's cowardice. Sometimes a mother is just a woman with children. And sometimes a cunt is just
A cunt. Yeah. That's the part people won't want to hear. But it's not about the word. It's about betrayal. When the person who's supposed to protect you hands you a weapon and sends you into the dark. What else do you call that? I've seen Echo lock the door 3 times. Seen him check windows we both know are shut. I used to think it was paranoia. Now I think it's memory management. I used to watch him tap his fingers and wonder if it was a quirk. Now I think it's a countdown. Between what just happened and what do I have to do about it? And that loop he lives in. Can't react, stays faceless, can't connect, feels like a ghost, hides more, can't react. You ever see yourself in that? We call that peace, but maybe peace is just the absence of reaction. And maybe Echo's not broken. Maybe he's just still hearing the knock at the bottom of the stairs. You heard the story. Now tell me this. What do you do when the past doesn't knock? It just walks right in.
All right, listener. You made it all the way through. That says something. So here's the deal. If this one hit home, smack the like. Got something to say? Drop it in the comments. And if you're drifting with us, go ahead, hit that subscribe, ring the bell. Let the algorithm know you're still alive. We don't do this for clicks. We do it because the echoes deserve to be heard. So do the thing. Rewind it. Reflect on it. Resound it. I'm PK, and you've been tuned in. Now don't fade out. Catch you next time.